everybody. Thank you, Ramon, for the nice introduction. And so nice to be here this morning. I'm amazed that so many of you made it through last night and are able to be here so early. I love AWE. Of all the tech conferences in the world, is the one that has the highest percentage of people with blue hair, believe it or not. It's true. And so today we're going to talk about AR and how this is going to change the world. And so we have, at Adobe, I've been at Adobe for the last 4 years. I was the founder of Mixamo. So I've been in the grind of all the blood and sweat of the startup world. And then I've been at Adobe for the last 4 years. And I have the privilege to lead our augmented reality effort. And we have found that basically there will be 4 main enablers in AR that will make this big wave happen. There's the need for hardware platforms. There's the need to discover the experiences that are created. But at the core, which is where we are focusing on as Adobe, is the content and the interoperability between the tools that you guys are already familiar with. So we saw a great talk yesterday by Chris Bobotis from Adobe as well, and he stressed how content is the center, the epicenter of all this. And so today we want to give a little bit of an overview of how we look at it, how our philosophy applies to AR, and how we are enabling the community to create more content in AR. We have to find ways to make interactivity easy to author and to create. And also we understand that animation is at the core, really, of content and interactivity. So a lot of our research, and we'll show you a couple of sneak peeks, is really centered around how do we make animation and interactivity accessible, easy to author and to create for all of you. And then the other side is interoperability. We found that 48% of people that we interviewed a lot of people to make sure we build the right tool for you and for the community. 48% of them stated that the #1 problem they had was to bring content in AR. And so we are trying to solve that problem as well, because it's an ecosystem that is very fragmented with a lot of file formats and a lot of different needs and optimizations that are needed to get stuff to play in AR very, very seamlessly. And of course, we want to bridge the gap between all current tools and AR, which is right now still a big gap, but I think is slowly closing up. And there are a lot of big paradigm shifts that we're going to see playing out. And a big one is the camera. So storytelling and camera are so tied together, and they have been for so long. Think about photos and action film. And now we went through a transition with gaming where the player has some control of the camera. You know, in a first-person shooter, I'm driving the camera around with some constraints. And then we are going to the next stage where this is now like complete like free world, where the user has complete and total control of the camera. So there are 2 aspects to that. The creator is giving up control, which may feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, we gain in empathy. And I think augmented reality and virtual reality are the ultimate medium that is really pushing empathy to the limit. And so we all have to understand how we work with this new constraint, or I should say, without that old constraint, and make those experiences really, really compelling. And then in the animation side, it's really important that we really go beyond the current limitations. So a lot of the content that is animated today is done using keyframe animation or motion capture. So those methods are very expensive, very tedious. And then in order to get like a character to run around in AR, often people use blend trees, which are significantly complex, and you have to set them up in game engines, and they require a lot of like technical knowledge on top of the artistic knowledge. And so we are trying to understand, and we try to see how we can move past that. And we are experimenting with completely new approaches where high-level controls are plugged into neural networks, and those can drive a character or an object by learning from a large amount of animation data. So we have done some cool research. I'm going to show you a quick video of the work that was done in collaboration between Adobe and the University of Edinburgh, where we created this, in this case, this wolf character that is now moving around and is completely 100% driven by a neural network, more adaptive neural networks. And with a large amount of training data, and with very simple high-level controls, you can get a quadruped, which, those of you familiar with animation know how hard it is to animate quadrupeds. Now this animal can walk around, go up and down uneven terrain, can have also different modes of interaction, can sit and be idling there, or can run around. And then all those transitions that normally you have to by hand define in a very complex blend trees that may have 50 or hundreds of animations, now they're all automatically taken care by the neural network. For a human, we have walk or running, so it's kind of easy. But for dogs, there are basically 4 different types of motion. And so it becomes, the complexity will completely explode for a quadruped. Try to make it photorealistic. So the way we are doing this is basically we are collecting a large amount of unlabeled animation data, and then we use some supervision to label that data, and then we feed that into this mode function neural networks so that I can just define a vector, and the modulus of the vector will define how fast the animal, in this case, is running. The direction of the vector will define if the animal is turning or not. And then the neural network will automatically transition through believable states. And you see very little amount of foot slide. So I think that's pretty amazing. We have come so far in this. The first time we used a neural network was a restricted Boston machine back in 2009. And there was a lot of foot slide, and we couldn't learn a lot of different modes. And also, we couldn't synthesize fast enough those animations. So maybe at the time was a little bit of an overkill. We didn't have the right, neural networks were really at the beginning of their new youth, I should say. And now I think we are getting to a point where things are working much, much better. And so for us, when we talk about interoperability, it's really about connecting mobile, desktop tools, and content service. That's basically our mission and what we're trying to achieve with Project Aero. Mobile, in this case, for AR authoring, has an amazing advantage. It has a world-facing camera that I'm carrying around. And so creating in AR for AR becomes a lot easier with a phone. But we still want to have the precision of desktop tools. And we want to connect to all of them, in particular, the ones that have been the flagship tools that Adobe has, like Photoshop, Illustrator, but also Premiere for video. And we want to just gather all this content and make it really easy for all of you to create in AR. And also, we are going to ingest every single 3D format as well, not just the 2D medium, of course, and be able to ingest and optimize. That's another big part. There's a challenge in being able to read all these formats. There's a challenge about converting them in the right runtime format, and also optimizing them so they can run pretty fast. So this is our recipe for our AR authoring solution. And this is what Project Aero does. So we enable creative people to tell interactive stories with digital content set in the real world. This is our mission. This is what we are striving, and we are super excited to do. And I'm going to prevent probably what will be the first question. And also, Chris got it yesterday as first question. So we are publicly releasing Project Aero this year. I can't tell exactly when that will happen, but it will be this year. And so we cannot wait to get this in your hands and see what you guys create. We're super excited. But there are a few steps that really we had to go through to achieve that. So is this the right slide? Like, I see hallucination, substance, a desert. Mike, did you throw in like the Burning Man proposal from last year? Oh, no, this is about rendering. Oh, okay, sorry, thank you. So sorry about that, I had a moment of flashback. The best definition of AR that our artist in residency gave was AR is a collective hallucination. We could not have found like better words for that. Really cool. In order to make that hallucination believable, we need to render in a way that is photorealistic. And so a big part of that has been developing a physically based rendering pipeline and leveraging Substance. So early this year, we announced the acquisition of Allegorithmic with all their Substance tools. And we are super excited to bring that value into AR. They are the leader, and we are now with them, the leader for PBR authoring to create those amazing materials and customizable substances that are believable in AR. A lot of the challenge is not only about creating the meshes and for these 3D models, but it's really like in the material. And so we have now a complete set of tools. I think is the unique PBR ecosystem that Adobe has, where we have the tools to author these PBR materials. We also have online content services like a stock and a substance source, where you can access those materials and those substances that are still customizable. And then we have an engine that is supporting PBR natively, and that's the Aero engine that we developed internally at Adobe. And so you can pick between stock and source, depending what your needs are. In stock, you have MDL materials that are like ready to go. In Substance, Substance source, you can actually customize them. Both of those, you can bring them at any time inside the Substance Painter or Substance Alchemist, depending on your level of expertise. Edit those materials, edit those textures, and bring them to life in the Aero engine. And so we have a service that will automatically gather all these file formats, ingest them, optimize them, and then make them available inside Aero. So we're very, very proud of that. And there are still a few open challenges that we see coming. First of all, we want to really break that barrier that has kind of held the creative people out of the AR, VR journey so far. Until recently, you had to be a developer to create AR experiences. And so there's about 5 to 10 million developers in the world. And there's probably like hundreds of millions of people that want to tell a story. And we want to enable those folks. And so in order to do that, we have to break the current status quo, where you have to know like how to structure if-then statements and how to nest for cycles and while cycles in order to create that interactivity. So we are taking a very different approach. I would love to talk more about it today with more detail, but we will do that very soon, in the next month. And so we have conceptualized a new paradigm where people without deep knowledge of logic or programming or software development can actually string together sentences that are made of like triggers and actions. And so it's a concept that is very intuitive and still has some of the power like a la Lego blocks, where you can layer a lot of those sentences and create more complex behaviors. So we'll be very happy to develop further this new paradigm with you along the journey. A lot of you guys are already on the Aero beta, and we are welcome today more of you. And then as we get closer to the public release date, you will see more and more invitations coming and more feedback that we will be asking you. Because ultimately, we are building this tool with you, for you, and our approach as a tech and art company is the best technology in a creative tool is the one that is completely invisible, that has no UI. That's our goal. We don't want to create art with technology. Technology is serving your needs and should get out of the way as much as possible. So we even made T-shirts like best UI, no UI. Just is our ultimate paradigm. Okay, we need some UI. That's true. So, and then the other aspect is really education and learning for the new medium. There's a lot that we have to learn. There's a lot that you will be learning in the next month about AR and what content works and what doesn't work. And so we want to really connect with the community. So we will have a lot of initiatives to connect with you, get your feedback early on. Never feel shy about reaching out. We are always eager to hear your story, what kind of problem you're trying to solve, and see how we can address that so we can reach content scale, which is ultimately the big enabler for AR. I think in VR, the content was so expensive to create, and there was not enough out there to create that momentum, but we think AR has a chance in that. So as I said, public release by the end of the year. You can sign up on adobe.com/aero. And another thing that is interesting is we started an artist in residency program as we started Project Aero about 2 years ago. And you can apply also for those residency. And we have a quick video now that we're going to show that will give you an overview of the kind of content that people have created with Project Aero. So we can't release publicly today the tool, but at least you will get a sneak peek of what people have been creating. So let's roll the video. 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm excited about immersive media because I like bringing stories off of a screen and putting them into the real world.
We are not trying to imitate reality, but we are rather trying to build our own reality.
For us, I think it means that really we want to be immersed on a daily basis.
By removing all these technical barriers for the creation of immersive content, we just want to enable a really broad spectrum of artists and storytellers to tell their story.
The residency was great. It was intense. We made 12 projects in 12 weeks. Aero is great in terms of placing objects quickly in space. I wanted to really push myself and think about interactivity. I took all of these photos of people from the internet and cut them into sort of a montage that changes when you get closer or further away from them.
The visual feedback is really quick.
It really helped us to rethink how we are using AR and where we want to go with it. I would sculpt a 3D sculpture in VR, and in a few minutes it was landing on the app, and then in the next few minutes we will go to the field and play around with the sculpture in a real environment. I think it's great that companies like Adobe are collaborating with artists.
If you bring different voices to the table, I think the future will be better for everyone.
The best message that Adobe has for the creatives of the world is that we are transforming the world into your canvas.
Thank you. Yeah, what they create is like mind-blowing. Like it's just such a source of inspiration for us working in the trenches. And they always come up with like different ways of using the technology that we had completely not envisioned at all. But now we are like thinking, okay, but this is a really cool feature they created. So the program basically has 2 or 3 artists every 3 months. And so we go through about like 12 for the year. And the artists have complete freedom to create whatever they want. There's no constraint. And they own the work of art that they create. And we just learn from them and hang out with them. And they're all very nice people that we really love to have at Adobe. And I hope there will be more, maybe between you guys. So thank you very much. This is all I have for today, and I'm going to take the questions. Whoa, there's a lot already. Is Project Aero going to work with all other Adobe tools? The answer is yes, that's the goal. We are starting with a pretty strong interop story with like Photoshop and Illustrator, but we are also extending Dimension, Adobe Dimension, our 2D, 3D compositing tool. And then, of course, the Substance tools as well will be able, they already like have workflows into Dimension, and so through that, we can get all that into Aero very easily. And there will be more as we go. But we started basically with those 3, Photoshop, Illustrator, and Dimension, because they were the ones that had either the best fit or the best demand. Will Project Aero be included with my Adobe Cloud subscription? So the public release that will go out will be free, and that's kind of how we see this. So if you have a subscription, yes, it will be included, but it will be also included for people that don't have a subscription and just have an Adobe ID that you can have for free. Project Aero seems like it's designed to compete with Unity head-on. Is this accurate? Does Adobe view Unity as a threat? We see it more as a complement in the ecosystem. They focus on developers, and developers are their customers. For us, we focus on creatives, designers, and artists. Those are the customers that we tailor our tools for. And so on one side, you need to code C#, and on the other side, we are building the most intuitive UI to let you self-express. So that's kind of how we see it. Will the animations and objects created be able to be exported into VR IDEs such as Unity and Unreal? So that's an interesting question. We see some use cases where the artist wants to create content, even with the interactivity, and maybe push forward like a prototype of an app, and then hand it off to the developer. And so this is a workflow that we see pretty common in the industry, and so it's something that we would like to support. I'm not going to be able to commit on specific IDEs today, but we are very aware that in a lot of cases, there's an artist working with the developers, or multiple developers, and they need to basically interop, and also the creation of the designer needs to be handed off to the developer. So we want to help that as much as we can. So, next one, will Aero be part of the Creative Cloud? Yes, that's an easy one. Part of the trailer showcased the artist drawing in VR. Is that functionality going to be included in Project Aero? In that case, the artist in residency was using Tilt Brush, and then from Tilt Brush, I believe you can export OBJ on FBX, and those are formats that we are supporting. And so based on that, we can get all the content that you can create drawing in VR into Aero. We're not focusing on authoring in VR for Aero. Aero is more like a tool that can ingest existing assets and then help you create an interactive experiences. Next one, how do the 3D modeling tools compare to other tools like 3D Studio Max, Maya, and Blender? I don't know which 3D modeling tool. Aero is not a 3D modeling tool. It's a tool that ingests content from everywhere and allows you to create interactive experiences. But we are supporting we want to support all 3D modelers that are out there, and we support already today 3D formats that those 3D modelers support. So again, we want to interop and play with all the existing tools in the ecosystem and just enable all those. I think time is up. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the conference.